Hi, my name is Paul Grogan and welcome to episode 56 of the Gaming Rules Podcast, which is another podcast where I'm not going to be talking about any of the games that I've been playing. This time I've got another interview and it's with Scott Alden, otherwise known as Aldi, who is the main person behind BoardGameGeek. For those of you who don't know what BoardGameGeek is, and I'm assuming that most of you do, it's a website, BoardGameGeek.com, and it's got loads and loads of things on there. Anyway, I'll get on with the interview and then tell you a little bit afterwards. So here we go. So without further ado, let's welcome the special guest of the show, Scott Alden, or Aldi as he's better known. Welcome to the show, Scott.
Hi Paul, thanks for having me on.
Before I jump in to start talking about BoardGameGeek, I normally ask each of my guests just to tell us a little bit about yourself. Who is Scott Alden?
Who is Scott Alden? Yeah, well, I'm the founder and owner of BoardGameGeek LLC, the company, and the website.
Yep.
And I live in Dallas, Texas. And I moved here in the late 90s, 96. I moved back here, actually. I lived in California for a bit. I lived in Dallas before, then I lived in California. Went to do a startup there, and then I came back to Dallas to do video games. I was a video game programmer in the 90s. You may have played some of my video games, so...
Any games that we would have heard of? Any big titles?
If you've heard of Sin, that's one. It came out the 2 weeks before Half-Life, so most people probably didn't hear about it. But
it's like releasing a movie at the same time as Star Wars.
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
Not
So
a good
the
idea.
movies that came out against Star Wars this weekend, we were that. But yeah, I'm pretty proud of that game. And then we also worked on Heavy Metal Fact 2, which was a sequel to the Heavy Metal movie. If you guys remember those movies. And then also I worked on Duke Nukem Forever. I worked there for 5 years, but I did not finish that game. I left before that. That game was finished like 10 years after I left, so...
Right.
Yeah.
And you left the video game industry to start BGG?
To work on BGG full-time. I left, I left in 2005, quit that job, and started BGG full-time.
Right.
I think I quit at the end of 2005, so 06 would I guess would have been my first full year of BGG.
Okay, and BGG was in existence before that,
yeah, it
but
started
you were just doing it on the side.
Yeah. Wrote the code in 1999. Predates Wikipedia.
When did it actually go live then, BGG?
2000, January, oh gosh, 20th? January 20th? No, it was something like that. Yeah, January something.
So the year 2000, so 17 years. Because I've been seriously into board gaming now. I think it's about 98, 99. I mean, my history goes back a long way. You know, I dabbled a lot, you know, when I was younger, but seriously into board gaming like I am now started in about 99. Okay. And I always remember BGG being there, but that's not true. It wasn't there then when I first started getting into it in 98, 99.
No, yeah. If you were there, you were probably either on one of two mailing lists or on Rec Games Board, which is a Usenet group.
Yeah, probably. Wow.
One of those things. If you were on the internet at all, honestly. Okay,
so BGG, BoardGameGeek. For the one listener that I've got that doesn't know what BoardGameGeek is, quick summary of what it is.
It's a website.
There you go.
Yep, they're done.
About board games.
All right, talk to you guys later.
I've been explaining to people what BGG is for about 15 years now. And the way I describe it is I say to people, you know IMDb for movies? And they go, yeah. And I go, well, it's that for board games. And that's how I describe it to people who don't know what it is. Is that a fair description?
That's a pretty good definition. I think BoardGameGeek has a little more social aspect to it. Whereas IMDb is purely like database and some forums. Yeah. Although they shut their forums down, guys. I don't know if everybody knows that. So BoardGameGeek is it's basically it's a definitive resource on board games, right? Any board game ever created, anytime, we want to catalog it and have a database entry for it. Plus, it's a social media centered around that, right? And where you can track your collection and keep track of your plays and talk about games and take pictures and do videos and upload session reports and files and translations and player aids, and it's a user and to be perfectly honest, that's all user driven content. Like the users create what BoardGameGeek is. Yeah.
And was it your intention when you started doing the coding for BGG that that's what it would be?
No. No, well, in a way. So when BGG started, there was no. This is pre-commercial internet. I don't know if a lot of people were around, but on the internet back in the late 90s, you were there, but you were barely. If you were there, you were not doing very much. There was nothing to do. You would go look at the Coca-Cola.com website, you remember all those like big corporations starting websites. But in the late 90s, video game websites were kind of like driving all of the content on the internet. And I was friends with the guy who ran Shack News, Sugar Shack. And I saw, he had this website, and it was like cool. And I was like, I could probably do another website like that with just user-driven content where you didn't have to work so hard at getting all the stories and putting them in yourself. You could have like a team and have I'm a programmer, so I basically I wanted to solve things in a different way. Yeah. And I wrote a video game website called 3D Game Geek. I don't know if anybody has been around long enough to know that one, but the core of 3D Game Geek became BoardGameGeek. And so it was a team of us putting in content. It was not user driven, but we were borrowing content from people we knew with permission to enter in session reports. Right. And a session report, which is kind of like fallen off a little bit these days, like people were more into the video. But session report was a written summary of a game, right? And the best session reporters, Greg Schlosser being one of them, would bring you into the feeling of the game, like by text, right? You would read it and be like, oh, I really want to try that game. That looks great. So those were like, and this is kind of tying into the foundation in the beginning of BGG. I was on this private mailing list called Diggers, Desert Island. It's short for Desert Island Gamers, right? Like, what game would you bring on a desert island if you were, that's the, and it had been around for years before I got into board gaming. And when I got in there, I saw 5 years of archives of just fabulous writing by Greg Schlosser and other people. Okay. And they were not public. It was like all hidden in this private mailing list on Yahoo. And so I was kind of like, oh man, I bet I could change my 3D Game Geek code to do video or to do board games, and then we could put the session reports in, like just cut and paste. Okay. And that's how it started. Right. Okay. And obviously where it is now is a million miles from that. And as you say, most of the content is user driven content. Correct. Yeah. And and it's amazing, right? It went from like, let's say like 5 people doing it, now millions, right? Like I mean, maybe millions. I hope it's millions. To just show you the change, our first, and we didn't have user accounts back in the day. Okay. We just had we would hard code the names in there and say, hey, Greg, can we use your session reports and put him into the, to this game? Oh yeah, no problem. Right. Greg's one of the best guys in gaming if you've ever met him. Eventually we're like, you know what? What if we made user accounts just to let other people, they could just put it up themselves. Right. Right. And then we wouldn't have to keep track of all that and stuff and cut and paste. And so, yeah, that's when the user account system came in. And that was a couple years in. It wasn't right away. It was definitely many years into it. And once that started, that's really when BGG took off, right? Instead of just being a read-only thing, you could interact and talk with other people. That was it was a two-way street, as it were. Okay. And so now, back then, we would maybe get let's say 20 to 30,000 unique visitors a year. And this year, I think we're going to break 5 million unique visitors in 30 days time. Wow. Per 30 days, right? Yeah, to show that's just it's mind-blowing to me that even the board game industry has just, I mean, you could play all the games that came out in a year very easily. you really could. And now it's just you can just sample them, you can. Yeah. No one person can play all those games. No, unless you're playing 3 new games or 2 new games every single day. No, probably 3. No, it's gonna. Yeah. Maybe 3, a little more than 3. Yeah, maybe a little more than 3. Yeah. So that's not gonna happen. Now, if you include expansions in there too, that's true. Yeah, but it's great. I'm not complaining. No. So, BoardGameGeek LLC. Yes. Where is it now? How many
full-time employees of BGG LLC are there?
I just added a new one.
Yeah,
Lincoln. So let's say Lincoln, Dan, Chad, Eric, Matthew. That's 5. Me, 6. Am I forgetting anybody? I'm always like, we're so spread around. Like, I don't see everybody every day, so I'm always like, make sure everybody.
But that's full-time people.
That's 6 full-time.
There's still lots of other people that do other stuff.
There are other people. I have a couple contract employees that do stuff, and I have the store who are also employees. That I mean, I guess they are they are employees. So let's add them. Let's add Christine and a couple other people. So that's around 10 total employees. They are that run the store, which used to be like a very part-time job, is slowly becoming a full-time job, which is another crazy thing. But
well, as more and more publishers want to get their promos onto the store, then it just, it gets more and more, it escalates.
Yeah. The promos thing was it started small, and now it's gotten a little bit bigger.
Yeah. Okay, right. So let's go into some detail, and I'm going to touch on some of the questions that have been asked over on my BGG Guild.
Yep.
Now, one of the big talking points of BoardGameGeek for years now has been the interface.
Yeah.
And you've been working on changing that interface quite a lot over the last, how long now? 2-3 years?
Now we're about 2 years in.
Yeah, and it went through a bit of an update. Was it earlier this year or last year? Where there was an overhaul of the front page.
We rewrote the game pages, and we released that in 2000. Good memory test here. I think it was the end of 2016. Yeah, 2016.
Yeah. So about a year.
It took us over a year to rewrite just that one part of the website. And this is 3 people working on it, right? We're not a large company. People think we're like, oh, this big thing. No, pretty small. Like I'm one of the main programmers, and Daniel Karp is one of the other programmers. We have 2 programmers, me and Dan.
Yep.
Although I program less and less these days. And we had one contract UI guy, Jordan. And so, it's a tough job. If you if you knew how BGG was written inside, you would realize, it's pretty hard. So yeah, we're working on it, I guess, is the best answer.
So those UI updates, they've not finished. No. They're still going on in the background.
Right. Yeah.
And when they're ready, you'll release the next bit. Yeah,
and we're probably going to be we're on the cusp of releasing another part of the website. I hope by the end of the year, but I'm probably thinking exciting. It's not going to be.
So I'll be honest with you. When you released that change at the end of last year, I didn't like it.
Yeah.
Now I'm in the minority of people that actually like the current interface, and that's because I've been using it for 15 years.
Yeah.
And I'm stubborn, and once I get used to something, I don't want it to change.
That's very
So I saw
common.
the new interface, and I'm like, well, where's that? And where's that? And where's that? And to be honest, if I came to the website now for the first time as a new user, the new interface is probably a lot better than the old one. And the old one gets so much criticism for being like something from the 90s.
Well,
whereas
it was
I'm used to the old
90s.
one. I like it. I know where everything is.
Yeah.
So I keep switching it back to the old view.
Yeah, we predate Wikipedia, by the way, just to let people know.
Okay.
They haven't changed their interface that much. But, we... It's a hard job, and I'm not trying to ask for pity. It definitely is a necessity. Old interface you couldn't use on your phone, or you could, but you would have to do the pinching and zooming stuff a lot, which is kind of sucky. But
right.
I'm excited. We're working on it, and it's we've got a new. So to give you a quick interface update, we released those game pages in the end of 2016. Doesn't really work that great. It's not a full Angular. It's called Angular. It's a technology created by Google.
Okay.
Wasn't really ready for prime time. And by their own admission, they have created another version of Angular called Angular, which is very confusing. The Angular, and they call the old one Angular JS now.
Right.
So now you were like, oh, you're Angular 2? No, it's It's just called Angular now. Angular 5? Right. No, it's just Angular. And they changed the numbers. They're up to like 5 now. And so the new thing we're releasing is written in Angular, whereas the old one is written in Angular JS.
Right.
Which really is bad for us in a way that we have to go back and update the old one to use Angular, which is so different. If you're an Angular developer, you'll know what I'm talking about.
It sounds like they should have just called it something different.
Exactly. Really like, why would you confuse the world? This this is so typical of software developers, though. You know, they have this brand they don't want to lose, and they're basically like, oh, well, just call it Angular still. So, but we're going to rewrite it completely, and it's 100% not even the same stuff, Paul.
Right. Okay.
Anyway, so we're working on that, and we're about to release a new image gallery type system. So when you click on an image and it brings up the picture, and you can do all kinds of stuff. And it is taking a long time, admittedly, but it is a new, completely 100% new technology.
Cool.
But we're excited, you know, and we're working on the old stuff too.
Yep.
So
okay. Well, one of the questions in from the BGG Guild from Andy Grant is if you could make one change to BGG. Cost and compatibility with current software is not an issue. So if you could wave a magic wand and make one change to it right now, what would that change be?
Good question. Man, there's so many things. But I guess the biggest thing would be to have a mobile version that works across the board.
Okay.
And either that's an app or theoretically the website. The way we've taken the direction we've taken is the website should act like an app, and you won't need an app. That's what we're kind of shooting for, so we don't need an app, right? Questionable if that's the best way to do it. I've got some ideas in my head that would require an app, I think. And so let's just say my one change I would love is to have a app of BGG. Right.
Okay, cool. The next question is in from Ian Noble. But before I ask it, I just want to ask you a little bit about your board gaming background. Sure. Presumably you were a fan of board games in the 90s then, which is what prompted you to create BoardGameGeek.
A little bit of fan.
Okay.
I was an Uber fan.
So, so Ian's question is, how have you been able to stay, if you are still, excited about board games when literally your job is now board games?
Huh. Yeah.
Is the gamer there still in you?
Oh my gosh, it's so there. Like I have a burning passion for board games. Like it cannot go away. It cannot be extinguished. Okay. I'm sure I could if I was like a reviewer, I believe. You know, I'm not a reviewer. I'll give my opinion and things, but I'm not what you would call a reviewer. And so I don't probably play as many board games as reviewers do. Right. I don't churn the treadmill, you know, like crank out those 20 videos a day. I'm not in that world. And so that's probably why I'm still passionate about the games is I don't play everything and I can't. And I play what I want to play. Like I don't play this is a big thing. I rely on the review community and the content community to preview a game. So if I can decide whether I should push it to the group or not. Yeah. Like that's huge.
I mean, I get asked that question a few times as well, because I've now been doing this 4 years, 3 years full time. So I think I gave up my job. I think it's coming up for 3 years ago in January.
All right.
And I now spend all day 50, 60, 80 hours a week writing scripts, editing rule books, doing game development, you know, everything. Right. And my passion is still absolutely there, 100%. Whenever I'm on a Friday night game session or a games weekend or anything like that, I'm absolutely loving it. I can't switch off the editor in me now, so when I'm reading a rule book, I'm always a little bit,
they should have done this,
overly critical. But my passion for playing good games is still there. I think the only thing that's changed for me over the last, and it's not just over the last 3 years, it's probably over the last 10 years, is I've become less forgiving and fussier.
Right.
So if we sat down with a game 15 years ago and the rule book wasn't that well written, and we thought, oh well, there's probably a good game in here somewhere. Let's spend the next 3 weeks reading lots of forums and
I've been there
and answering questions and doing this, and then let's give it another go. And now, no, read the rule book. If we can't work out how to play, we might even pack the game away without even finishing it because we can't work out how to play. So we don't, and then we'll get out one of the other games, which has a good rule book, and we enjoy playing it. And it's like, so definitely a lot less forgiving.
Yeah, and that's wise words. I think a lot of people are that way now. And you know, the biggest hurdle of board gaming is the rules. And if us hardcore guys don't want to do it, then you're not going to get anybody else. You know what I mean? You're not going to get a lot of the other like regular casual players to play a broken game.
It's the same thing with the quality of game. So I first went to Essen in either 99 or 2000. I can never remember which. But I've been going to Essen now for 17 years. And when we first went to Essen, we'd sit down, we'd play a game, and we'd go, "Oh, was that all right? Yeah, it was all right. Buy it." Next time, play a game, sit down, play it. Was that all right? Yeah, buy it. Now, go to Essen, played a game. Was it all right? Yeah. You going to buy it? No. It's like, well, I got 400 games in my collection. If a game is great, then yeah, I'll buy it. So good is not good enough these days.
Right.
Whereas good used to be perfectly all right 10, 15 years ago. So yeah, anyway, became fussier. So anyway.
The competition is high now. Yeah, the competition is high.
Oh yeah, well, sheer number of games as well.
Yeah.
So touching on games then, what kind of games do you like? What's your sweet spot for games? Light, medium, heavy, family games, social deduction?
I like all kinds of games.
Okay.
I won't turn anything down. But I guess if I was to pick my favorite types of games, I'm tending more towards thematic games these days.
Okay.
With not too many rules, like I like the good thematic. And if it's a Euro, that's fine too. But as long as it's got a good story or a good theme in it, and I still love the middleweight Euro.
Right.
Those are great for me. The heavy Euros, I just don't play them as much anymore. But I want to play them. Like they're in my head. Like, oh, I better play Lisboa pretty soon, otherwise it's going to pass through. And I mean, which is so stupid because the game is still, it's always there. It's not like it's going away or anything. Yeah,
but if you wait 2 years between plays, you'll have forgotten it all and you'll have to learn it again.
Right. And so I guess I'm like one step down from that, whereas it's like the middleweight Euro. But I'm also like, I love thematic games. Like I just played Fallout and that was, one of those.
Is it good?
I don't know yet. It might be good.
It needs
I had
another
a good
play.
time playing it, let's say.
Okay. Right, let's see what other questions we've got. So, a couple of questions about BGG Con.
Con, yeah.
And is there going to be a BGG Con in the UK? Now, I didn't want to answer this for you. I think I know the answer.
It's probably, I don't want to say never, but it's not on the plans, as it were.
Yeah. Now, having been to BGG Con,
yeah.
For those people who don't know, BGG Con is in Dallas, Texas, which is where you are.
Yeah.
And the library of games gets transported. And
we brought 6,000 games to the con this year.
6,000 games were transported to the con. So BGG Con is not just a con that can be transported anywhere in the world. It is pretty much, it kind of has to be near to where you are.
It kind of does. And we do 2 cons a year now. We do a spring and a fall.
BGG Con Spring.
Right.
Yeah.
And I guess we could do it in a different country, but it wouldn't be the same.
No.
You would not have 6,000 games library. We wouldn't transport those to...
No.
We might have a couple.
And also,
100,
being
maybe
out
1,000.
Being out BGG Con, I've seen the amount of volunteers that you have
and
to make that operation work.
Now,
and it's a huge amount of people.
Yeah. And so BGG Con UK or Europe would be a different beast. It would be a different thing. But honestly, I feel pretty satisfied with our conventioning right now, and I wish people from the UK could come cheaper. I understand it's quite expensive. But you guys got the UK Gaming Expo, which is pretty awesome.
Which is pretty awesome.
Which is only once a year, unfortunately, but I
which
guess.
Is,
and you can train to Essen, which is... And I'm not saying that that's a substitution, because you don't really play a lot of games at Essen, you just buy them. But yeah, man, you never know. If the stars aligned and things came to be, I think I would do it. I mean, I'm a big fan of the United Kingdom. I like traveling there and going there, so it would not be a problem doing that. It's just what do I want to do as a convention there, and what would people want to go pay for, right? And that kind of thing. So.
Now, you've not been to UK Games Expo yet, have you?
No, unfortunately. I missed my window of not having a con the week before it, or week after. Right. I can't remember if we're the week before or the week after, something like that. So we have BGG Spring in the week, either before or after the UK Games Expo. I think it's the week after.
Okay.
So it's kind of tough to chain.
Yeah.
Gonna get there someday, though. I'm gonna get there.
Even if you just come as a visitor.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and we were our booth at Essen this year was right next to UK Gaming Expo, so got to talk to those guys a little bit. They're great. I would love to go there. Right.
So, a couple of other things to talk about. Another big topic that's been talked about quite a bit recently, mainly by me, is the BGG ranking system.
Yeah.
Because there was one person I was watching, and I won't name any names, but they basically said at the start of their video, the BGG ranking system is completely broken.
Oh, really?
It's totally flawed. You only need to look at the top 10 games to realise that the whole system is completely flawed.
Oh, really?
And I took offence at that, so I stood up and defended it.
Okay.
Because I don't think it is.
Okay.
I mean, every rating system has problems.
Sure.
Okay. But to say that the whole ranking system is broken and flawed. Now, what you can't prevent is you can't prevent me from creating 50 accounts and going in and rating a game 1 out of 10 in order to try and manipulate the rankings.
Right.
You can't prevent me doing that. Well, you could, because I've just told you that I'm going to do it. So you can close my accounts down. But you know what I mean? There's nothing you can do to stop the fake ratings effectively from happening. But what you can do is you can write your coding so that it somehow ignores them. Because I've been going off that. I think somebody might have told me that at some point, and I've been repeating that information for years.
Oh, okay.
That your algorithms get rid of all of those ones from people who've new user accounts, they've never rated another game, yet they go on and they rate it a 1. So am I right in saying
I haven't talked about this in a lot of years, but we have some algorithms, I guess you could call them, to try to detect that. So I'll just say that. I don't like to give any details about it.
No.
You know, people like to figure things out and work their way around it.
But I'm right at saying that there is something.
I think it's quite provocative to say that the board game rank. I look at these top 10 games and I'm like, wow, these are pretty fabulous games. I've played almost all of them. I think I've played all of them. Yeah, I have actually. Yeah. So
I mean, I personally don't agree with all of those top 10.
I mean, obviously, these are games that this person doesn't agree that are the best 10 games in the world. And these probably are not the best 10 games in the world. Like, if you're going to definitively rank them by some certain set of rules and structures, and you know, BGG is for fun, right? Like, it's for fun.
Yeah.
And like, you get to put a rate in the game so you can keep track of your own ratings. And that's what it was created for. Honestly, the rankings came out of like, hey, I have like millions of bits of information here. Maybe we should sort them. These are just sorted ratings. People, nothing more than that.
But on the rankings, let's look at the top 3 games in the rankings. Yeah, they've all been released in the last 2 years.
3? Oh, I guess if you call 20, if we're saying we're still in 2017.
Yeah, we are at the moment.
Well, Through the Ages is a questionable one because that came out way earlier.
I know.
It's another version
because it's
of
the old
game.
one. Yeah. But is age, does that contribute to the rankings or not? Is there decay?
I don't know.
In your algorithms? Okay.
No comment.
No comment. So if there is decay, then that would make sense. If there isn't decay in the rankings, then what we've got is we've got more and more people giving high ratings to games that they're playing now.
Very possible.
I'm just trying to get into people's minds here.
Very possible. You know, very possibly.
10 years ago, why didn't we have all of these people rating
if you're just,
Puerto Rico out of 10?
Yeah, so if the board game hobby is coming to a boiling point where, you know, thousands of new gamers are getting born every day. Yeah. They're going to be like, oh, that game is the best game I ever played. It's a 10. Right? Yeah. Then no one can play all the games to comparatively like rank them against themselves. No. You start when you start. And every year more and more people are starting and the game they've just played is one of the best games they ever played, which is probably true. Yep. So in their opinion, it's a 10. Yeah. I mean, I use the BGG ranking system myself for the games which I've rated as to a combination of how much I enjoy playing the game and how good I think the game is. So if I play a game and it's a really, really, really good game, but there's a couple of rules in it which I didn't feel worked great and could have been a little bit better, it'd get like a 9.5 or whatever. Right. So, you know, I really, really like the game. I think it's a great game. Yeah. But it's not perfect. Yeah. Now, I don't use the BGG rating system as it should be used. So the definition of a 10 on the BGG rating system is a game that you would never say no to playing. And if I'm honest, I've probably got 50 to 100 games in my collection that I'd never say no to playing. But that doesn't mean I've gone in and rated them all a 10. Right. I use my rating system
as I mentioned, to sort of see how good the game is. So different people use the rating system in different ways. So your 8 might be different from my 8, for example.
And that's perfectly okay.
Yes.
Right.
But, you know,
this is just a sorted list of the games ranked by a 1 to 10 scale. You define the scale.
Yeah.
We just give a guideline. It's not supposed, you're not supposed to be like I better put it in the guideline, you know, or my vote won't count. Your vote counts no matter what.
But it is funny. And I know you shouldn't send messages to users about the ratings that they've chosen, but I have done that once this year.
Yeah.
Because I saw somebody's ratings. I can't remember even what I was looking at, but they'd rated this game and they said, this was a fantastic, you know, they'd added a comment. It wasn't just a number. They'd added a comment and they said, this was a fantastic game. I absolutely love this game. All of my friends really like this game. Can't wait to play it again. It's really, really good. 1.
Oops.
And then another game was like, this game is awful. I never want to play this game again. 10. So I dropped them a geek mail just to let them know politely that the rating system is the other way around. I never heard back from them, but I just thought that was quite funny.
You know, there's lots of fun stuff within the rating system. I mean, we're literally getting thousands of ratings per hour. I mean, it's just incredible. Yeah. But yeah, you got the world. You're trying to find some pattern in the world, and you know the games. Everybody's got different flavor and tastes, and so
yeah. I think a number of people on the various forums that I've been talking about this on have been saying the people who rate games before they've played them, that's bad. You know, how can you rate the game even before you've played it? Yeah. It's like, oh, I've ordered this on Kickstarter and it's coming out next year. 10. Yeah. And then you get the people who deliberately rate games, you know, like the Twilight Struggle crowd that stopped Pandemic Legacy getting to #1 by creating all of these accounts and rating it a 1 and that kind of thing. This thing has happened in the past.
I don't pay attention to it, I guess, so I'm kind of outside of that. But yeah, I guess, so the rule of BGG is you can rate a game for any reason. We don't question it.
Yeah.
All that we ask is no automation and no trying to manipulate. Obviously, if we find manipulation, we try to stop it. But that's a little hard to do, as you said earlier.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, my 99 accounts that I've got, I've tried to disguise them by calling them Paul Grogan 1, 2, 3. 2. Yeah, so hopefully you won't spot that.
You joke about that, but that's happened in the past. Some smart people out there.
Another question. Rich wants to know, what's your vision for the future for BGG? Apart from the UI interface, which you're updating, have you got any longer term plans for it?
I guess we're kind of not that future looking. I mean, I've got plans, but are not like, my 10-year vision. Obviously, I want to make the site easy to use. That's a UI thing, I think. It's hard to say. And then it really is one of the main focuses. But I also want to make it a little easier to, you know, as the site grows, over 1.6 million registered users now. People don't always get along. The world is different. There's different viewpoints on everything. It would be cool if you could kind of, I don't know if this is the right word, but like compartmentalize your world of BGG. Like if you didn't want to see the whole entirety of the world, maybe it would be cooler to see more stuff that is more in your wheelhouse. Okay. Right. Like if you, a little more customization, I guess is the word. I used to talk about the Dunbar number, which is like the number of people you can keep track of in your head, right, and maintain relationships with. And that probably, that includes probably online, although that may have changed with the advent of Facebook and stuff, but a little more like that, where you could kind of get a snapshot of it instead of the whole enchilada. Okay. Right. And I definitely want to make the site more social. Like there's definitely some things we can do with the concept of Geek Buddies, which was, my gosh, created like in the aughts, you know, 06 or 07 or 08 or something like that. And like, it's kind of sat there a little bit dormant, doing not a lot. And that could, you know, it predates a little bit of Facebook type relationships where you could kind of see what each other are doing and comment on that and talk about it. And it creates kind of interesting things. So I guess a little more social, like part of BGG to come into play. Okay. I think that's probably my biggest goal, is just to make it easier to use and more social and a little more friendly.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, in terms of, obviously, BGG LLC, you've said it's a properly registered company, and it has the 10 employees that we've mentioned. How does it get paid for?
So a couple different ways. We do an annual fundraiser from users, and this
was a leading question.
A big chunk of that
because it's that time of year.
Yeah, we just started that. We're almost done. Actually, we're 21 days in. That's a big part of it, and that's a completely non-obligatory payment. That's basically, we're just saying, hey, if you find use in the website and you wish to give us some money, go ahead. Here you go.
Yep, it's on my list of things to do before the end of the year.
Cool,
so,
appreciate that.
I mean, I use the site every single day, so...
Right. We also sell advertising. That's another part.
Yep.
And we do the promo sales, which is basically the little tchotchkes you can add to a game and mix it up a little bit, right? Like the 1 to 5 card expansions, or the pieces, or the extra stuff. We also recently just started selling upgrades to pieces. So like we have metal cubes that we sell.
Oh right, you started doing that.
Yeah,
right.
we do bits and parts and things like that. And one of the cooler things that just came out, Chad designed a silicone bowl that you can snap together in the corners, and it creates a bit dish, like you can store stuff in it.
Oh yeah, I've seen pictures of cloth ones.
Yeah, there are cloth. These are silicone, which are interesting, and I have yet to touch one because I haven't got mine yet. But they look great. They have 12 colors to choose from, and they snap together, and they're super sturdy, and they don't have any... It's not like snaps that are like button snaps. They're built into the silicone, so it's kind of like a push the silicone knob through it, the hole, and it's fastens in. And I can't wait to see them. I'm so excited, and I just haven't gone down to the store. The store is about an hour away from me, like a drive, so it's a bit of a like, oh, if I'm going to go there, I should have more than just one thing to do. And then
I've also seen some emails on my CGE account.
Yeah.
Of an idea that Chad's had as well, which I can't say any more about.
Okay.
But he's had an idea of pimping a CGE game
Blinging.
with some things that may be appearing in the store.
Yeah.
So
we like people to bling their games. Like that's kind of what the cubes and the clear plastic cubes and the clear meeples and all that stuff. Yeah. So that's a fun thing. And then I think the convention is the other way we make money. So those 4 kind of add together to pay for the 10 employees.
Yeah. So if you're listening to this podcast and it is still December 2017, then go on to BoardGameGeek, and if you use the site at all, give them some money, because without that money, it's fair to say that, you need that money in order to keep going.
Yeah, I mean, it's people give a little criticism for us, but it's totally just up to you. I mean, you don't have to. BGG's a free website.
It is. But what I'm saying is I'm encouraging people, if they find use out of it, then, rather than having an expensive cup of coffee from Costa one day, just, stick something on there.
Exactly, that'd be awesome. And not necessarily just in December. We have, you can support the site any time of year. And you get the badge, and we're giving away 1,000 Geek Gold if you support this year. So that's a lot of Geek Gold.
I've had a couple of questions about
account.
Geek Gold.
Yeah.
Ian Turner wants to know when Geek Gold will have a practical use. And I don't quite know what he means by that.
It already does. What are you talking about? You get to buy avatars and pictures and little things. And little
badges and all sorts. And you get to give it to other people. Because when I started and people gave me Geek Gold, I was like, now I've got hundreds of the stuff and I don't need it. I'm giving it to other people.
You spread the love.
And it's nice for them.
We have 1.6 million registered users. They don't know how to have the Geek Gold.
Exactly.
You got to give some... They're used for showing appreciation to other people, too. There's always a use. Now, I understand that you can have more than you can spend, but like we want to... I should go back. That's definitely another thing. We have a couple more ideas for that, too. To, spend some Geek Gold and do some stuff to your account.
Cool. Right. Okay, let's talk a little bit about games that have just come out at this year's Essen.
Yeah.
Best ones that you've played.
Oh, I just played Hunt for the Ring and loved it.
Oh, and I've heard really good things about that.
Yeah, that's sort of my thematic world coming through, right? Like, it's a hidden movement game. Do you want me to get into the rules at all? Or sure, yeah. It's a hidden movement game where Frodo is the hidden movement controlled by one player, and he is trying. Well, Frodo and his party. But Frodo is the main character, obviously. is hiding their movement, traveling across the board to get from the Shire to Bree, at least in the first half of the game.
Oh, so it's
a two-half game, yeah. So, and then the other players are playing Nazgul, which is awesome, and they're powerful, and they have all kinds of cool special abilities to try to track Frodo down and corrupt him. And so that's how the game was won by the Nazgul. They corrupt Frodo and win the game.
So it's a one versus many game where the one is the good guys,
right,
and the many is the bad guys.
Yeah, and the good guy has access to a lot of good guys. Like, it's not just Frodo. It's like, if you're into Lord of the Rings, this was created by the people who made War of the Ring.
Yeah,
which has
I know it's Ares Games, and John Howe did the artwork, so it's already got that.
It's amazing.
It already looks like Lord of the Rings because it's John Howe did the artwork.
Yep,
so.
And the artwork's amazing, and it's got the flavor, and it's got thematic tie-ins to everything, and it's super tense, and like from either side, like oh, we gotta catch him, and I haven't played Frodo as Frodo yet, but the Frodo player is definitely like, oh man, I was sweating, like trying to figure out how to get around you guys, and it was just a great time. I played it twice, and there is a second half to the game, which I have yet to see, where which is
Bree to Rivendell.
Which is Bree to yes, correct, Bree to Rivendell. But what changes? I know the rules somewhat. I haven't played them yet, but what happens is the player no longer controls the path of the party. They draw a card that tells them the path. So it'll go from A to B to C to D in different ways, right? Like it's another hidden movement board of which you don't control the party.
And this is in the same box, so both those games are in the same box, right? Okay.
And the party is led by Strider, right? So you don't control that, but you control Gandalf, and Gandalf is basically played to kind of confuse the Nazgul. There's things in the game where you can try to identify, like you can identify large areas where Frodo is. But so Gandalf would actually give a positive reading to that question as well. Right. So it can, and he has a whole bunch of other fun stuff to do. And the Witch King comes into the game too. And that Witch King has superpowers. And they're like, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe we thought we were going to play it the other night. However, Frodo got completely corrupted on side 1 and we won the game and it was over. And I'm like, oh, we won it. I wanted to get to side 2. So I made next time I play, just jump to side 2. You could totally do that. Okay. You could just jump to side 2.
Okay. So for me, there are, and I'm going to generalize here, but a lot of thematic games, for me, it's just all about the theme. And the game itself, in my personal opinion, isn't a good enough game for me to enjoy playing it. Even if the theme is the best theme ever, I need a good game in there mechanically. Yeah. And the theme will add to that and make that work. So
right.
Where does this fit in there? Am I going to be happy with it mechanically?
If you think? If you like hidden movement games, it's definitely top tier, like one of the best.
Okay.
Yeah. And I played them, I think I've played all of them. There's probably something out there I haven't played, but I've played most, if not all of the hidden movement games in the world. And this is definitely one of the best.
Right. Really okay. Cool. You're a hidden movement guy then.
I mean, I wouldn't say that. That's my thing, but like I love the Fury of Dracula, and I love Garibaldi, and I love and Whitechapel is good for me, but I feel it's a little bland with the theme.
What's the one that's in a black and white box? Aliens Escape
from Aliens in Outer Space. Have not played that one yet. There you go. There's one I have not played.
There you go. Found it.
But Spectre Ops, I love Spectre Ops, and this is up there. I mean, it's really high for me.
Okay. So. I've heard lots and lots of good things about this, so I might need to look into it. I mean, growing up with Lord of the Rings and John Howe's artwork and everything else really does it for me. So
this game has that, and it's got really cool minis. The Nazgul are awesome.
Okay,
they're very nice.
So they've done a good job with this one.
Oh yeah,
because Ares Games, as you say, they've done War of the Ring.
Yeah,
but they don't do that many other games, do they? I don't think they do.
They did the Last Friday, which is another hidden movement game that I was looking forward to came out at Gen Con last year, I think.
Okay.
I mean, it's a fine game, but it has a couple problems in it that don't bring it to that top tier. I'll still play it. Great. But it has a couple weird scenes in it. It's like kind of a Friday the 13th maniac trying to kill the campers kind of thing. Okay. Which is great theme. But there's a couple gamey things in there that are like, well, it doesn't make sense that this happens. And yeah. Well.
Right. So that's Hunt for the Ring from Ares Games.
Yeah.
And that would be one of your favourite games that you've played that's come out recently.
Yeah. I got one more if you have time.
Go on, yeah, sure.
Altiplano, is that how you say it?
Yeah.
Which is a, I guess you would call it a Euro game.
Yeah.
Designed by Rainer Stockhausen. DLP games came out this year at Essen. They had a very small quantity. We were able to get a couple copies for BGG Con. I intercepted one of those copies before it went to the library and played it. That's a privilege of being the owner.
Yeah.
I loved it. We played that game before the convention, and we were just thinking about it the whole time. At the convention, I was like, oh man, I really want to play that again, because there's kind of like a lot of different paths. What I feel, there's a lot of different paths to victory in that game.
Okay.
It's a bag building game where you're putting resources into your bag, and then you're pulling them out and using them in certain ways on your board. And there's a movement, which is kind of new. I guess it's a little bit of a sequel, not sequel, but same game system.
It's by the designer of Orleans, and it's got similar mechanisms to Orleans, but sufficiently different for it to be standing alone as its own game.
One of the big differences is in order to use an action, you have to actually be at that location to use it.
Yeah.
So there's a movement mechanism built into it, which is kind of frustrating and interesting at the same time. Because you're like, oh, I need to figure out how to move over to that spot to do the fishing or whatever. And, or, picking up the alpacas, stuff like that, which is fun. So,
I mean, the first player token is hilarious.
Yeah, it's giant alpaca.
It's giant, cute looking. So what we were talking about rulebooks earlier on, I'm not going to play this game until the new version comes out by Renegade.
Okay. The rulebook was a little iffy
because of the rulebook.
Yeah.
I've heard so many bad things about the rulebook, and I've heard so many people playing it wrong, that even people I know that have the game that would teach me how to play, I can't trust that they know how to play.
Okay. Interesting.
Because how do I know that they've gone on to BGG and read all of the forums and found the bits in the rulebook that are not clear?
It's very possible that
I'm just going to wait till the new version.
Yeah, it's very possible we played it wrong too, because we just read the rulebook and played it as that. So maybe I missed a couple things, but I think the bones of the game are great. I can't imagine that much changing that would make the game unplayable, or better for me. It's still good. At least I still had good, even if flawed, potentially flawed playthrough. Yeah,
and that's the thing. When the new version comes out and you get the new rulebook, you're like, oh, do I have to reread the rulebook again and then spot the differences? You just want a sheet to say, these are the things that weren't clear in the old rulebook, and these are the things that. But you don't find that.
That'd be interesting.
Have
that, I mean, and I don't know how many copies they sold of the English version in Germany. So maybe that probably. I'm guessing that probably won't happen. They'll just have a new rulebook formatted and clarified and all that stuff. So
I'm looking forward to playing it. But as I say, I'm going to wait until new rulebook comes out, because I don't want the risk of playing it incorrectly. Yeah. So anyway. Right, let's start wrapping things up.
Yeah, for sure.
Because it's been about 45 minutes. Yeah. Thank you very much for being on the show. Is there anything you wanted to add before we let you disappear?
I guess the people that are listening, if you're a user of BGG, thank you very much. I mean, if you're a user and contributor, even thank you more, obviously. And if you ever thought about signing up and doing an account, it's super easy, and you can start tracking your collection and playing, keeping track of your plays, and it's kind of a fun activity, I guess, as it is to do that stuff if you're into it. I mean, I don't track my plays, but I do like to see other people saying, "Hey, look what all the things I played this month." I enjoy that, and so just thanks for listening, and thanks for stopping by BGG.
Yeah, a lot of people. I mean, I try to track my plays because I do quite often in my podcast, I'll talk about the games that I've been playing, and in my new monthly video log, which I've recently started, I talk about some of the games that I've been playing. Yeah. And if I didn't track them, I'd forget.
It's a good memory thing. Yeah, I mean, when you were asking me about Essen games, and I'm like, oh, it'd be cooler if I could bring up a little button and I could list the games.
If only there was a tool out there that would allow you to track the games that you
and as you get older, the memory starts fading a little bit, and you're like, did I play that? Oh, yeah, I played that. So anyway, that's... Anyway, I just want to say thanks for everybody that supports BGG and stops by and uses the website.
Yeah, cool. Right, well, thank you very much for your time again, and I'll see you next year.
Yeah, see you.
So, I hope you thought the podcast was useful. I certainly enjoyed speaking to Scott, and I'm not just saying that because that's what an interviewer should say. I actually did really enjoy talking to him and finding out some things about BoardGameGeek that I didn't know. As I say, I found it quite interesting. So yeah, I hope you did too. And just a few words before we go. Thanks as always to the sponsors of the show, Gameslaw, the UK's largest specialist games retailer at gameslaw.com. Thank you to Jason Shaw at audionautics.com for the music used in this podcast. Gaming Rules is a member of Punchboard Media, where we all bring something to the table, and a proud supporter of the Board Game Trading and Chat UK Facebook group. And thanks very much to all of my patrons that make this podcast possible. This podcast was recorded just before Christmas 2017 and edited over the Christmas period because I didn't really have anything better to do. So there we go. Podcast 57 will be recorded sometime in the new year, where I'm hoping to get back to more of the normal fashion of me talking about some of the games that I've been playing. But thanks to the Patreon, I'm now doing my monthly video logs, and I should be doing one at the end of December for everything that's happened in December, which is quite a lot as usual. So anyway, until next time, take care, and thanks for listening.